Today's Legends of Officiating, we have our track and field legend for us. We're excited to have Laurie, is it Boemker? Did I say your last name? Boemker? All righty. Making sure I'm saying it correctly, which I did not, so thank you for letting me know how to say it. Laurie, thank you so much for being here and your willingness to share your wisdom and words of advice and your story as far as officiating goes with our officials population. So we will jump right in. Your first question is, what role did interscholastic sports play in your life growing up?
Well, first I was prior to Title IX, so things are a little bit different. You know, interscholastic sports for most of us girls in those days was the intramural programs, the recreational programs, and private clubs, which really still provide a lot of opportunities. And so with all those opportunities, I would say that it still helped me to grow as an individual and develop as an individual and also grow as a team. So I was fortunate enough to be on a private track and field team. I was also involved in some of the intramural programs as well. And then our school had powder puff football, and we had very, very strong intramural programs. And then I was allowed to compete or run with the boys track and field team. So I was very, very blessed in a lot of ways. And in addition to growing as a person in a team, I also kind of was able to go outside of my social group and learn to build relationships with a lot of different people. And I think that was very, very important because I never would have had that opportunity, especially at such a young age. And I also learned that sports is not about winning, you know, and that I think was really key. It really was more than that, just to grow and develop as a person and a team.
I really appreciate that answer, and I'm going to ask you something off script. So we're right now working on our celebration of Title IX, and we're having a women's sports summit and doing a bunch of stuff out of the Federation with regard to Title IX. So I'm going to ask you a question that I have had the opportunity to ask a couple of others of our interviewees for this Legends project. What does Title IX mean to you?
I'll be honest, it really doesn't mean the same thing I think it does for others, because as young athletes and as a female athlete in those days, we knew we were opening the doors for and providing opportunities for other, not just females, but also for those even young men who would look at the courage that we had. And they would also want to participate in something that maybe was outside of their comfort zone. So it really is different. I think eventually it would have happened. There was a lot of role models to help many of us, you know, open those doors. And we knew some of us wouldn't benefit, but that was okay. You know, we just wanted to kind of be the pioneers and move forward. And I think we were able to accomplish that. And you have to accept that. You can't go back and regret the fact that you didn't benefit from the college scholarships or the somebody giving you a contract, because it was illegal to take any kind of money or any kind of perk. So it was a different era.
That was a fantastic answer and really good perspective, because I think that it means something different to everybody. And that was a really good perspective about the role modeling that you provided for even young male athletes. So that was outstanding. Thank you so much for letting me throw a curveball at you.
It's okay.
That's what I do.
That's all right.
You know, those are fun ones. What made you decide to become an official?
There were several officials who reached out to me. I ended up with a very bad injury in 1972. And these were officials that saw me run and were excited about me running as an athlete. And in those days, athletes often participated in part of the officiating activities as well. It was the only way we could get things to run the event well. So they reached out to me, and the other part was they were so happy, and it was such a reward for them to be officials, and I wanted to really be part of that. So I would just say the sport itself was a big reason to go into the officiating arena.
When did you realize that officiating was something that you really wanted to do for the rest of your life?
Well, being a competitive athlete, I love challenges, and officiating is full of challenges. You have to mentally be prepared for situations that arise. You have to have all different kinds of communication skills because, oh my goodness, the different styles of people is unbelievable out there. The other thing, it was more than just being a hobby. For me, because I loved the sport so much and it was so much of who I was, when I would go to a track and field meet, it was the second best thing of being at home. I just felt so comfortable. So at that point, I really decided that I needed to stay into the officiating arena.
What is your most memorable moment of your officiating career on the track?
Oh, actually, there's probably two. The first one would be when two of my children were officiating on their own as officials, and to watch them respect the sport and their integrity, just everything about them was just so rewarding. So that was one. The other one, which is a race that probably was my most stressful, the most pressure, and where I had to resolve so many conflicts all at the same time, was the 2016 800 meters for the women Olympic trials. And I was a referee for the women. I really spent a lot of time preparing ahead for that particular race. And at the last bend, there was a major incident where athletes fell, and it changed who qualified for the Olympic team. So when that happened, there was a lot of protests. I don't know how many. And it was decided that we would take over 20-some people into a video review room. They would review the videos and we would discuss it. We were very transparent, honest, and they did not appeal my decision. And it wasn't a headliner either for the newspaper or social media. So I was really, really proud of that. And I was also proud of the officials who were also in that room and worked with me to make that happen.
Yeah, that's definitely working under pressure when you're talking about the Olympics, and holy smokes, that's a whole other level. What a great story, and to have that confidence and ability to make those kinds of decisions based on rules, and those are always the ones where you're like, how did this just happen? Like, what now I have to put on my real game face and get to work here. So with regard to memorable experiences, what was your most memorable experience regarding officiating that's happened during your career, but off the track?
I'm going to have to say it was in the 96 Olympic Games. It was actually after the award ceremony when Carl Lewis came in underneath the stadium, and he was so excited and showed me his gold medal. And to see somebody like him at his level just have this expression and this excitement, it was so unforgettable. I mean, you could feel the joy, and I don't know, it was just a side of an athlete that you got to see that other maybe spectators and people didn't get to see. And that to me just meant a lot.
That actually just gave me goosebumps. What an amazing experience. I mean, growing up watching Carl Lewis and watching the Olympics, and to see kind of that human side, because so often we see those elite athletes and they're superhuman. So to see that they were just as excited as we would have been, that just makes us feel like, oh wow, they're one of us. How exciting.
It is.
That's really cool. So what do you find unique to track and field officiating that really no other sport can claim?
Well, the thing about track and field, it's not just one event. There are so many other activities all going on at the same time. I mean, you have the track and then you have the field. So the track has the sprints, the middle distance, long distance, hurdles, relays. Then the field side has, whether you jump far or you jump high or you throw far with all these different implements. I mean, it's actually fascinating when you think about it.
It really is. I worked a lot of track meets at my previous job, and I always told people it's 17 events within an event, and there's just so many moving parts. If you've never, I mean, you can relate to this all too well. If you haven't ever put together a track meet, you have no idea what a daunting task it is, because it's just how many people do you need to staff that thing, and it's so. Oh my gosh, it's pretty incredible to think about. I love track, so. This interview is exciting for me. It's my favorite. What would you tell a newer official who is about to quit officiating to keep that individual in the sport?
I think the first thing you need to do is find out why they're quitting. If in this day and age, I mean, if it has to do with the demands of their job or the demands of their family, sometimes there's not a whole lot you can do about that. And what we have done is we try to keep them in the loop in case their situation changes. If it's something else, like they were thrown into the officiating arena, kind of a sink or swim, or they had a bad experience dealing with a person, then you need to focus kind of on your retention issues. And those would be things like training. I mean, one thing about training, it's not one and done. I mean, that doesn't cut it. It's ongoing. So you do need to provide often more training, more feedback, and constructive feedback. That's very important. And then I would say that sometimes if you have a mentor, you may find that the mentor you put them up with isn't a good match. So finding what works for them as far as mentoring, I think, is very, very important. That's basically I would do in that part. But as far as dealing with a difficult person, I think as officials, we're responsible for preserving sportsmanship. So we do need to stick together and try to push back on unacceptable behavior. It's not easy, but that's something that we could all work on, and we need to do it together. It's just not a one-person job.
For sure. And you actually kind of led me right to this next question. So as an official, how important is it to have mentors? And what words of wisdom do you have for individuals who serve in the role of a mentor?
Well, mentors are really important because it provides the support and guidance you need for new officials. The first thing we usually tell people when they're mentoring is, what was it like for you when you were the new kid on the block? And I think that's really important, because sometimes if you're an official for many years, you kind of forget about that. So you do need to put that into perspective for them, and then keep the lines of communication open. I think that's key. Just let them know that you're always there. I mean, there's just so many things, and I don't think there's a one size fits all. But I mean, I've always just started as, what was like for you, and keep the lines of communication open. Also, I would say the other thing is managing any expectation, because sometimes the official thinks, oh, I'm going to get paid this much, or I'm going to move up the ladder. So you need to kind of let them know about that. And if you are training, do it at their level, not, throw the book at them with all the rules, just, little baby steps at a time. I think that's very helpful.
Who are your officiating mentors?
I had 3 in the beginning. I have others now, but because I don't think those go away. And they all had different mentoring styles. I had Ron Althoff, and his style was kind of traditional. And then I would say he kind of used the reverse mentoring approach, where because I was an athlete and I had different perspectives, he was also learning from me. And so that was really kind of cool. And I actually use that when I'm mentoring somebody. Dale Studebaker was another one. He was what I would call the buddy system, or sometimes they call it the co-pilot. We just kind of like shared, bounce things off. And I use that a lot with new officials, and even ones who've been around for a while. And then Fred Daffler, he was my master, I would call. He was the sounding board person. He also worked for Ohio High School Interscholastic League. So, I was able to, I was actually blessed. He brought things like the political side, and he got me involved with other officiating groups, other sports. So I was actually able to kind of compare track and field with basketball, football, wrestling, you name it. So he just brought a whole different level of things that I needed to know that really wouldn't be taught, at least in the beginning.
I think sometimes the most valuable thing about mentors is all of that, like you said, all of the outside of the rule book stuff. It's the practical stuff that you can't find. It's not written down anywhere, but it's so helpful.
Forget the rules, just go with the spirit.
Exactly. It is crazy. I mean, they'll teach you all you need to know about how to manage people and all of that stuff that is really not in black and white anywhere, but so important to officiating. We don't talk about that enough sometimes, I think. What was a failure that you had in officiating that you look back at and realize that it actually helped you long term?
I'm going to have to say actually missing a violation. And really, I it's still to this day, I missed something, and because I didn't see the whole thing. And it was apparently a violation, but I didn't see it. So I've kind of learned that if you think you saw it, you didn't. That's kind of the approach I've taken moving forward. And I just find it's a little bit fair to deal with it in that respect.
What do you find the most rewarding about officiating?
Oh, probably to do the job efficiently, fairly, know the rules. And when those athletes are so happy with the job you did, that's probably the most right there.
With regard to officiating, if you could tell your younger self to do something differently, what would that be?
Don't say yes to every officiating opportunity. Number one, you need to balance officiating with family, probably even jobs. And the other part of that is, if you don't say yes to everything, you're going to provide opportunities for other people. And that's important too. Too often we kind of like feel like we have to do it all, and we take it all, and then we deny other people the opportunities as well. Or we, don't balance with family. We forget the kid's birthday or whatever because we're out doing a track and field meet. So that's what I would do differently.
That is very sound advice, because there is that, I think, especially as women, sometimes in sport, it's, well, I can handle everything and I'm going to go officiate and then I'll take care of the kids. And without fail, you end up dropping a ball somewhere along the way, and then you feel devastated because now you feel like you let everybody down. So I understand. That is great advice. I wish I would have told myself that as well. So final question, and this is really to kind of help the National Federation. As you know, we are recruiting officials. We've got a shortage across the country in all sports. So my final question to you is, you have one opportunity to convince people to become officials. What do you tell them?
Well, I'll let you know what we tell people right now, because it is very, I mean, we're not really having an official shortage in track and field arena at all. But what we tell them is, if you love the sport, you have the best seat in the house. And that technically is to get them in there, in the door. The hard part is keeping them and doing the mentoring, the training and everything else. I mean, that's really, is the hard part. And, I can get them through the door sometimes, but it's what happens after that. And there's just a lot of barriers in front of all of us, and that's different for everybody, and people's lifestyle's different, the world's different. So, we're dealing with some trying times, but, that's what we're doing here. You can't always look at the 3:30, start meet, if we can have 5:00 or whatever, we try to do things, with people where it works for them, not that they have to adjust to us. So that's kind of, the direction we're taking. And it's, it's not an easy process.
Right, Laurie, thank you so much. On behalf of the National Federation and our over 200,000 officials that officiate across the country, thank you for your willingness to pay it forward, to give back to the officiating community. This will be something that is sent to everyone, regardless of sport, and we're just so thrilled that you were willing to do this for us. It's a gift, so thank you for that. Have a great day, and if there's ever anything we can do for you, please let us know.
Okay, thank you, Dana.
Thank you, Laurie.